This is the IELTS listening test. You will hear a number of different recordings, and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have a chance to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 parts. At the end of the test, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet. Now turn to Part 1. Part 1.
You will hear a man telephoning a sports club to ask about membership and facilities. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 4. You will see that there is an example that has been done for you. On this occasion only, the conversation relating to this will be played first.
Good morning. Sorry, it's gone 12. I'll start again. Good afternoon, Kingswell Sports Club. How can I help you?
Oh, good afternoon. I was wondering if you could give me some information about membership and facilities.
The name of the sports club is Kingswell, so Kingswell has been written in the space. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 4.
Good morning. Sorry, it's gone 12. I'll start again. Good afternoon, Kingswell Sports Club. How can I help you?
Oh, good afternoon. I was wondering if you could give me some information about membership and facilities.
Of course. What would you like to know?
Do you have tennis courts, for example?
No, I'm afraid we don't. We're primarily a golf club.
What about football? I heard you had a team.
No, I'm sorry. Perhaps you're thinking about Fresham Sports Centre.
Oh, right. I know it. I played badminton there.
Have you? They've got a lot of facilities we don't have, and vice versa. We do have a Keep Fit studio, which is very popular with members, and then as well as that, there's swimming, of course.
That's good. I like to swim every day.
We have a range of classes, too.
Do you have judo classes? I'm keen to learn.
Well, at the moment, we offer kickboxing. We're planning to add judo and stretch classes soon. We're currently running a range of yoga classes, too.
What about relaxing after exercise? I assume you have a restaurant or something?
At the moment, we've got a salad bar, which is very popular. We'll also have a fully licensed restaurant by the end of the year.
Sounds good.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 5 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 5 to 10.
What kind of membership are you interested in?
Not really sure. What are the options?
Well, there are 3 different membership schemes.
I see. What's the difference?
Well, the first one's called Gold, and you can use all the facilities at any time of the day or week. You can also join in as many classes as you like for free.
That sounds good. Is it very expensive?
Well, you pay a £250 joining fee, and then it's £450. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's just gone up by £50. Sorry about that. It's now £500 for the annual subscription fee.
Right, got that. And what's the next type?
Well, that's silver. It's the same as gold, except you have to pay a small fee of £1 per lesson for any you do, and you can only use the centre at certain times.
I see. So when exactly?
You can only use the facilities between 10 a.m. and 4:30 p.m.
So I couldn't use the pool at 8 in the morning or evening then?
That's right.
Okay, and the price for that? Is the joining fee the same as for gold?
Actually, it's slightly less than the £250. It's £225, but the annual fee is only £300. Does that sound more like what you want?
Well, it's still rather more expensive than I thought. I'm a student here in England, and I'm only here for 6 months.
Ah, then the bronze scheme would probably suit you best.
How is that different?
Well, some of the facilities have restricted use.
And do I have to pay for classes?
Yes, it's £3 for each class you join.
I see. And what are the hours then?
Between 10:30 and 3:30 weekdays only, and you pay a £50 joining fee. The annual fee is £180. It works out at £15 a month, so that would be quite a lot cheaper.
Oh, that should be all right. I could come in my free periods. What do I have to do if I want to join?
Well, we book you in for an assessment with an instructor who will show you how to use all the equipment. If you want to organise a trial session and look around the centre, you'll need to speak to David Kinchley.
Could you spell that, please?
Yes, David, K-Y-N-C-H-L-E-Y. I'll give you his direct line number. It's 0458 95 311.
Thanks.
Thank you for calling Kingswell Sports Club.
That is the end of part 1. You now have 1 minute to check your answers to part 1. Part 2.
You will hear a local radio broadcast about the Rivendell City Theatre. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 16. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 16.
And here on Radio Rivendell, we have Lynn Rawley, the Public Relations Officer of our own Rivendell City Theatre. Hello, Lynn.
Hello.
Now, the theatre is reopening soon after its 3-year redevelopment program, isn't it?
That's right, and there are a lot of improvements. The first thing people will see when they go in is that the foyer has been repainted in the original green and gold. Then the box office has been reoriented with its own access from the side of the building instead of through the foyer, which means it can be open longer hours and has more space too. The shop that used to be in the foyer, which sold books and CDs, is the one part of the redevelopment which isn't yet complete. The plan is to find new premises for it near the theatre, and we've had difficulty finding somewhere suitable. We hope to reopen the shop in the next few months.
Will audiences find any difference in the auditorium?
Yes, we've increased the legroom between the rows. This means that there are now fewer seats, but we're sure audiences will be much happier. And we've installed air conditioning so it won't get so hot and stuffy. We already had a few seats which were suitable for wheelchair users, and now there are twice as many, which we hope will meet demand. Something else that will benefit audiences is the new lifts. The two we used to have were very small and slow. They've now gone, and we've got much more efficient ones.
Anything for the performers?
Yes, we've made a number of improvements backstage. The small, dark dressing rooms we used to have been converted into 2 large, airy rooms, so they're much more comfortable now. And the state-of-the-art electronic sound and lighting systems have been installed.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 17 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 17 to 20.
Okay, so what's the first play that audiences can see when the theatre reopens?
We've got a very exciting production of Peter Shaffer's Royal Hunt of the Sun, which is currently touring the country. That starts on October the 13th and runs till the 19th. We're experimenting a bit with the time the curtain goes up. We used to start all our performances at 7:30, but that made it difficult for people to go home by public transport. So instead, we're beginning at 7, because at 9:45, when it finishes, there are still buses running. Tickets are already selling fast. The Friday and Saturday performances sold out almost immediately, and in fact now there are only tickets for Monday and Thursday.
How much are they?
We've introduced a simpler price structure. Ticket prices used to range from £6 to £30, but now they're all £18. They're available from the box office, in person, by phone, fax or post, or online.
Okay, Lynn. Now, if you'd like to give the contact details for the theatre so that our listeners...
That is the end of part 2. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers to part 2. Part 3.
You're going to hear a conversation between John and Anne, 2 students who are talking about their survey. Answer questions 21 to 26 first. You now have some time to read questions 21 to 26.
Hi, Anne. How's it going? Thank goodness I finished that survey on television watching and reading ability. What was your survey on?
I told you before. I wanted to find out if there is any relationship between how fat students are and how many times they eat at fast food restaurants.
That's right. I'd forgotten. Have you got your report finished? All the graphs and charts, that sort of thing?
Almost done. What about you?
All ready to present to the class, apart from 1 or 2 small things. Actually, my results are really interesting. Want me to tell you what I found?
Sure, if you promise to let me tell you what I found.
No problem. Anyway, look at this graph here. On the x-axis, I have the dependent variable reading level.
How did you measure reading level?
I used the English department test, and on the y-axis, I have a number of hours usually spent watching television every week.
13 to 19, 20 to 29, 30 to 39, 40 to 49, and 50 to 59. What are these numbers?
The people's ages. I managed to get exactly 20 people from each age group to do the test. Took me ages.
And what did you find out?
Well, look at this. If we take the 100 people as one group, we see that the more television people watch, the worse their reading level.
That's not surprising. But did you find any significant difference between the different age groups?
You bet. Okay. This is the curve for the group as a whole. These lines are for the different age groups. See what I see?
Wow, that's fascinating. The two youngest groups are very similar. Big difference between the oldest two groups and the youngest two. The older the people are, the less the correlation between reading level and hours spent in front of the TV. Why do you think that is?
Well, I need to do more research before I can say for sure. But from talking to the people, it's clear that over the past 30 years, most people have been watching more television and reading fewer books. But the older people...
Don't tell me. They spent more time reading when they were young than young people nowadays. So they learned to read well, and even though they spend more time in front of the TV than they used to, their reading levels stay the same.
Hey, you're pretty smart. That's exactly what I think. But I need to do more research before I can say for sure. How about your survey?
As the conversation continues, please answer questions 27 to 30.
Nothing surprising. Well, actually, one thing is really interesting. Look, this is the number of times people usually go to a fast food place every week. And these are the percentages of people who are normal weight, overweight or obese, meaning really, really fat. Look, no fast food, only about 5% are obese. And look, 12 or more, about a third. And another graph, we have the number of hours they exercise every week.
Wow, a big difference. More junk food, less exercise, more fat. I didn't think it would be so obvious. That's great work. Why do you think people who exercise more tend to eat less junk food?
I asked everyone about that and found that people who care about their health do more exercise and eat fewer French fries and all that other greasy food, fast food stuff. Simple.
That makes sense. But I see you found lots of people who eat the stuff more than once a day on average. I can't believe it.
You'd be surprised. You're right.
Hey, who's this guy? More than 12 a week? I bet it was Richard. He must weigh 260 kilos. And he's pretty short, all fat, no muscle.
You're right. And he drinks tons of soft drinks. All that sugar.
Okay, that's it. Healthy food only from now on.
And get to the gym, fatty.
That is the end of part 3. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers to part 3. Part 4.
You're going to hear a lecture on corporate crime. You now have some time to read questions 31 to 40.
Good evening. Welcome once again to Criminology 201. I'm happy to see you all looking so alert and full of energy after a busy day. Tonight, and for the next few weeks, we will be looking at what is clearly a very important topic, corporate crime. First of all, what do we mean by corporate crime? The simple answer, of course, is crime committed by a corporation, usually by the heads of a corporation working together. But what about a crime committed by, for example, the CEO of a company, who without the knowledge of his colleagues, bribes a government official in order to get a big fat contract for his company? Well, we won't be looking at this kind of white-collar crime. Rather, we'll restrict our study to cases where the top people in a business entity work together and knowingly break the law, and especially those cases where, until they get caught, this type of unlawful behaviour is actually part of the corporate culture. First, why do they do it? The simple answer is to make more money. Well, most businessmen want to make more money, but they don't break the law to do so. So what factors make a group of men, yes, they are usually men, but women are by no means immune from this temptation, decide to step outside the law? In the next few weeks, we'll be looking into this question with a lot of case studies in some depth. We will also try to divide corporate crime into several categories and see what they share in common in terms of the psychology and organizational culture of those who commit them. And we will also look into the legal, social and political settings in which these crimes occur. A particularly interesting aspect of corporate crime is the process of detection, trial and punishment. It often seems that this type of crime goes on for an unreasonable length of time before it is detected by the authorities. Is this true, and if so, why? There is also a common perception that people found guilty of corporate crimes are treated much more leniently by the courts than, for example, your common everyday thief or murderer even. Is this true? And if so, why? I mentioned that we will divide corporate crime into several categories and look at some specific cases. What categories can we think of? Well, one is that of product safety, where a company markets a product that it knows to be unsafe. One of the landmark cases in corporate criminology of this type is the Ford Pinto case. Ford was accused of rushing the production of an unsafe car, and in 1980 there was the criminal trial of the Ford Motor Company for reckless homicide. We'll look at the research on white-collar crime and studies on organizational culture and structure to examine the lack of safety and recall regulations that may have contributed to as many as 500 deaths. As one report put it, much of the literature on the Ford Pinto case focuses on how consumer safety was willingly sacrificed in the face of corporate greed. Another category of corporate crime is manipulation of a company's share prices. One form of this is insider trading. Closely related and sometimes very difficult to prove is a kind of creative accounting, whereby, for example, profits are exaggerated in order to drive up a company's share prices. Take the Enron scandal. On November 29, 2001, the Wall Street Journal ran an article in which they reported that for years the company may have been President Bush's biggest financial backers, donating nearly $2 million to his campaigns. And it appeared that the Bush administration's national energy plan might have been in part an effort to help one of Bush's largest contributors. So we see politics creeping into this corporate crime question.
That is the end of Part 4. You now have 1 minute to check your answers to Part 4. That is the end of the listening test. In the IELTS test, you would now have 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet.